They say a perfect marriage is a work of art, but they never tell you that master criminals also create masterpieces. My name is Clara. For 7 long years, I believed I was living a modern fairy tale. My husband Julian was everything a woman could ask for. Attentive, romantic, a brilliant financial consultant. Together, we built something magnificent from scratch, a high-end marketing agency that catered to luxury tech brands. I managed the creative side, the branding, the human relationships. Julian managed the numbers. It was a perfect, harmonious partnership. Or so I stupidly thought. I trusted him with my life, with my money, and with the legacy of my late parents who had left me a significant starting capital. The first crack in the glass appeared on a cold, foggy Tuesday in November. Julian was in the shower, and his phone buzzed on the nightstand. I usually never look at his phone. We had built our relationship on ironclad trust. But that morning, a strange, suffocating intuition made me turn my head. The screen lit up with a notification from an unknown, unlisted number. The preview text read, "The final asset transfer is almost complete. She still has absolutely no idea. I can't wait for this simulation to be over, my love." My heart stopped. My breathing turned to pure ice. She has no idea. My love. I didn't scream. I didn't throw a tantrum. When you suddenly realize you are walking on a frozen lake and the ice begins to break, you don't start jumping. You freeze. You calculate. I memorized the number, put the phone exactly back where it was, and stepped into the kitchen. When Julian walked out of the bathroom a few minutes later, smiling, smelling of his signature expensive sandalwood cologne, I poured him coffee and smiled back. But inside, the loving wife named Clara was gone. A cold, detached detective had taken her place. It took me exactly 3 days of quiet, agonizing research to find out who that mysterious number belonged to. It wasn't a random stranger. It wasn't some cheap mistake. It belonged to Vivian. Vivian was my maid of honor at our wedding. She was my corporate accountant, my closest childhood confidant. She was the person who held my hand in the hospital room when my mother passed away. She ate at our dinner table every single week. But the betrayal ran infinitely deeper than a secret, dirty affair. I knew that emotions wouldn't win this war. Evidence would. I secretly hired a private investigator named Marcus, a quiet, ruthless man who specialized in complex corporate fraud and digital forensics. What Marcus uncovered over the next 10 days broke my soul into 1,000 jagged pieces, but it also crystallized my resolve. Julian and Vivian weren't just sleeping together in hotels while I was away on business trips. They were systematically, cold-bloodedly draining my company's bank accounts. Because of the clever way our corporate contracts were originally structured by Julian, he possessed full power of attorney as the financial director. Over the last 18 months, they had been moving our liquid assets into an offshore shell company registered under Vivian's maiden name in a tax haven. Their master plan was terrifyingly simple. They were planning to artificially declare our agency bankrupt by the end of the year. I would be legally left with millions of dollars in corporate debt, unfulfilled client contracts, and legal liabilities. Julian would immediately file for divorce, claim he was completely ruined alongside me, and walk away scot-free. Then, a few months later, he and Vivian would move to Europe and start a lavish new life using my stolen money, my hard work, and my inheritance. They didn't just want to leave me. They wanted to destroy me. Totally. Financially. Emotionally. Professionally. They wanted to erase my existence so they could build theirs on my ashes. Marcus looked at me with deep pity in his eyes across the desk of his dimly lit office. "You should take this file straight to the federal police, Clara," he said, sliding a thick folder over to me. It's enough to start a criminal case. I looked at the high-definition photos of my husband kissing my best friend in an upscale restaurant. I looked at the bank statements showing the systematic bleeding of my life's work. I looked up at Marcus and smiled. It was a cold, hollow, humorless smile that surprised even him. The police will put them in a comfortable white-collar cell for a few years, Marcus, I whispered. That is far too merciful. They want to play chess with my life. I am going to let them think they are winning, right until they checkmate themselves. Revenge is a dish that must be served with the absolute illusion of control given to your enemy. If I attacked them now, they would cover their tracks, hire expensive defense lawyers, and tie me up in court for a decade. I needed Julian and Vivian to believe that their plan was working perfectly. I needed them to accelerate their greed. The next evening, I began my performance. During our anniversary dinner at home, I intentionally let my hand shake slightly while pouring the wine. I didn't wear makeup. I made sure I looked exhausted, broken, and defeated. Julian, ever the predator disguised as a protector, noticed my state immediately. His eyes narrowed with a sharp, predatory interest. "Is everything okay, Clara?" he asked, his voice dripping with a calculated fake concern that made my stomach turn. "You've been so distant lately. The agency is demanding too much from you." "I'm just so incredibly stressed, Julian," I sighed deeply, rubbing my temples and staring blankly at my plate. The new tech clients. I think I made a massive, catastrophic mistake with their cloud data migration. I think I accidentally lost their proprietary database files. I feel like I'm losing my mind, Julian. I can't sleep. I can't even focus on our company finances anymore. Everything is blurry. I saw the brief, electric spark of absolute triumph in his eyes. It was the exact look of a hungry wolf watching a wounded deer stumble in the snow. He reached across the table and took my hand. His skin felt like a venomous snake crawling on my wrist. "Don't worry about a thing, honey," he said, his voice soft and comforting. "You are burning out. Leave the agency finances and the client structural issues entirely to me and Vivian. We will handle the heavy lifting. Just rest. Take some time off. Go to a spa for a couple of weeks." "Thank you," I murmured, looking down so he wouldn't see the burning hatred in my eyes. "I truly don't know what I would ever do without you and Vivian." That very night, they moved with desperate speed. Greed makes people incredibly sloppy when they think their victim is weak. Marcus, who was actively tapping their encrypted communication channels, showed me their text exchanges the next morning. Vivian had texted Julian at midnight. "She is completely breaking down mentally. This is our perfect window. We need to move the final $2 million out of the operational account this week, before she realizes the database isn't actually lost. Sign the bankruptcy papers as her proxy." Julian had replied instantly. "I'm doing it tomorrow afternoon during her therapy appointment. She won't even notice the missing balance until the bank locks the doors. We are almost free, my love." But they didn't know one crucial, devastating detail. I hadn't lost my mind. I had altered the entire financial ecosystem around them. The $2 million that currently sat in our operational account wasn't our agency's hard-earned cash. I had secretly transferred our actual company funds into a secure private trust fund under my sister's name weeks ago. The $2 million currently sitting in that account was actually a massive, high-interest corporate cash loan that I had secretly taken out from a notorious, aggressive private equity lending firm known for hunting down debtors with terrifying legal and physical precision. To secure that massive loan, I used Julian's personal assets, his luxury real estate investments, and his family's historic inheritance estate as the primary collateral. He had signed a blanket, unrestricted power of attorney to me 5 years ago when he was hospitalized with severe pneumonia, and in his arrogance, he had never canceled it. They thought they were stealing my future. In reality, I was guiding his hand to sign his own financial death warrant. At exactly 3:14 a.m. on Thursday, the money was transferred out of the account via digital banking. I watched the notification hit my hidden phone while lying in bed. Julian was sleeping peacefully right next to me, snoring softly. I leaned over, looked at his shadowed face in the moonlight, and whispered, "Sweet dreams, my love. Enjoy your last sunrise as a wealthy man." If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to English Stories Hub. A simple like helps more people discover these stories, and your support inspires us to create new ones. Now, let's continue. The morning of the execution was exceptionally bright and clear. Julian woke up with an unusual, almost manic energy. He was extra polite, making me breakfast and talking about how beautiful the weather was. He adjusted his expensive designer tie in the mirror, kissed my cheek, and told me he had a long, tedious day of emergency financial meetings with Vivian to fix our agency's problems. "We are going to protect you, Clara. We are going to fix everything today," he said, with a brilliant white smile. "I know you will, Julian," I replied, taking a slow sip of my black coffee. The moment his luxury sports car pulled out of our driveway, I picked up my phone and dialed Marcus. "It's time," I said shortly. "Trigger the alerts and bring the guests." 2 hours later, Julian and Vivian were sitting together in our agency's main executive conference room. The glass-walled room overlooked the entire city. They had spreadsheets open on their laptops, and they were finalizing the fraudulent bankruptcy documents. They were smiling, laughing, probably discussing which European beach they would buy a villa on first. They thought they were about to wipe their hands clean of me forever. The heavy glass door swung open. I walked in, unannounced, uninvited. I wasn't wearing the tired, broken expression from dinner. I was wearing a sharp, tailored black suit. My hair was immaculately done, and my eyes were dead cold. Beside me walked Marcus, carrying a laptop, followed by 2 heavily built, stone-faced men in dark, bespoke suits. They didn't look like lawyers. They looked like predators. They were the chief compliance officers and recovery agents from the private lending firm. Julian looked up, completely startled by my appearance and my posture. He quickly tried to put on his well-rehearsed mask of spousal concern, though his eyes flared with annoyance. "Clara, what on earth are you doing here? You should be at home resting. Your doctor said—" Vivian didn't even bother to look up at first. She was staring at her tablet, her manicured fingers typing frantically. "The rest is officially over, Julian," I said, my voice echoing off the glass walls as I walked slowly to the head of the conference table. I didn't sit down. I wanted to look down on them like bugs under a microscope. "I think we need to have a very serious, transparent talk about the $2 million that left our corporate operational account at exactly 3 o'clock this morning." Julian's face went slightly pale, but his arrogance was an armor he wore well. He let out a short, nervous laugh and shook his head. "Clara, you are deeply confused. Your severe mental stress is making you completely paranoid again. We discussed this restructuring process, remember? We are moving funds to protect them from the data liability. Vivian and I have it under control." "No, Julian, I have everything under control," I said smoothly, leaning my hands on the table. I guessed to the 2 imposing men standing behind me. "This is Mr. Vance and Mr. Cross. They represent the Vanguard Private Credit Group. You see, Julian, the $2 million you and Vivian so eagerly stole last night didn't belong to the agency. Our actual money is safe. That $2 million was a high-interest, short-term cash loan. And do you know what was used as the absolute collateral for that specific loan? Julian stood up so fast his heavy leather chair scraped violently against the hardwood floor. What ridiculous game are you playing, Clara? What are you talking about? Your family's historic estate, I said, my voice dropping to a dangerously soft, icy whisper. The century-old house your grandfather left you, the commercial land in the valley, your entire personal investment portfolio. You signed a full, unrestricted, durable power of attorney to me years ago, Julian. You were so arrogant, so secure in your absolute manipulation of me, that you forgot it existed. I used your name, your pristine credit score, and your family's entire heritage to secure that toxic loan. And then, I left the digital gates wide open so your greed could guide you to steal it. Vivian finally looked up from her screen, her eyes wide in suffocating terror. Julian, what is she talking about? What loan? It means, I said, looking directly into my husband's panicked eyes, that our marketing agency is completely safe, debt-free, and profitable. But you, Julian, are personally, irreversibly ruined. The lending firm has already initiated the emergency asset seizure. As of 10 minutes ago, you do not own a single brick of your family's history. You don't own your car. You don't own your bank accounts. You gave them away the exact second you clicked "Confirm Transfer" last night. Vivian's fingers began to fly across her tablet with wild desperation. Her face drained of every ounce of color, turning an ugly, ghostly gray. I can't access the receiving account, Julian. It's completely locked. The screen says, unauthorized access under federal investigation for international money laundering and wire fraud. Julian turned on her, his polished composure shattering into pure, raw panic. He grabbed her by the shoulders, his voice cracking into a high-pitched scream. What do you mean locked? What did you do? It's your personal shell company account, Vivian. Fix it. Transfer the money back right now before the freeze settles. Get your hands off her, Julian, I said calmly, crossing my arms. But what happened next was the moment the entire board flipped. This was the first twist. But the true, terrifying double twist was still waiting in the shadows. Vivian violently shoved Julian away from her. She smoothed down her expensive blouse, and despite her panic, a strange, twisted, malicious smile crept onto her face. She looked at my husband with nothing but absolute venomous contempt. It doesn't matter, Julian, she spat out, her voice sharp and vicious. You think you are the only criminal mastermind in this room? You think I actually loved an insecure, middle-aged fraud like you? I never loved you, Julian. You were a tool. I wanted the money. Clara might have trapped your family estate, but I am the sole owner of that offshore shell company. The $2 million is legally in my name. Once my lawyers sort out this temporary banking flag, I am leaving the country. You are ruined, Julian. You are going to the streets. But I am walking away wealthy. Julian stared at her, his jaw dropping. He looked like a man who had been stabbed in the back by his own paid assassin, only to realize that the shield he was holding was made of wet paper. He looked at Vivian, then at me, completely shattered, caught between two women he thought he controlled. You two, you planned this together? You set me up? Not quite, Julian, I said, taking a slow, deliberate step closer to Vivian. The entire conference room went dead silent. The only sound was the hum of the air conditioning and Julian's ragged, uneven breathing. Vivian, I said, my voice dangerously soft, almost gentle. Did you really think I didn't know you were sleeping with my husband? Did you really think I didn't notice the way you looked at my jewelry, my clothes, and my life with pure envy for the last 7 years? Did you think I was blind?" Vivian's smug, triumphant smile began to freeze, then slowly fade into a look of deep unease. "What are you implying, Clara? The money is in my registered account. You can't touch it." "The private investigator I hired weeks ago." "Marcus," I said, pointing to the quiet man standing next to me. "He didn't just watch you from a distance, Vivian. He actively intervened. Do you remember that anonymous, high-level Swiss financial consultant who emailed you last month? The one who offered to set up the perfect, completely untraceable, encrypted offshore shell company to hide your stolen corporate funds from me." Vivian froze. Her entire body went rigid. Her chest stopped moving. "The consultant was Marcus," I revealed, as Marcus opened his laptop and turned the screen toward her. "The offshore shell company you use doesn't exist in Switzerland. It's a dummy corporate entity created right here in the city, fully controlled and monitored by the Financial Fraud and Cybercrimes Division of the Federal Police. I didn't just passively let you steal Julian's loan money, Vivian. I hired a master to guide your greedy hand directly into a digital bear trap." I reached into my leather briefcase, pulled out a thick, notarized document, and laid it heavily on the glass table right in front of her. "This is a complete, certified digital paper trail of corporate espionage, grand larceny, identity theft, and conspiracy to commit multi-million-dollar fraud. Every single transfer you made last night was logged, recorded, and signed with your real biometric data and digital signature. You see, Vivian, Julian is merely bankrupt. He loses his superficial pride, his home, and his money. But you lose your absolute freedom. The police are downstairs in the lobby right now, and they aren't here for your debt. They are here for your arrest." Vivian looked at the laptop screen, then at the legal documents, her eyes wide and bloodshot with a volatile mixture of explosive rage and utter disbelief. No, you couldn't do this. We were sisters, Clara. I helped you build this entire agency. You wouldn't throw my life away." "And you tried to burn me to the ground, leave me in millions of dollars of debt, and steal my husband just to take my place," I replied, my voice completely devoid of any human emotion. "You wanted my life, Vivian? Now you get a prison cell. Let's see how much you envy me there." The heavy glass doors of the conference room clicked and slid open. 2 uniformed federal police officers and a detective walked in. Julian sank completely into his leather chair, covering his face with his trembling hands, sobbing silently like a child. His magnificent empire of lies, vanity, and manipulation had collapsed into absolute dust around him. He had nothing left, no wife, no mistress, no money, and no family heritage. Vivian lost her mind completely. She screamed at the top of her lungs, spitting curses, throwing her tablet across the room, and clawing at the air as the officers forced her arms behind her back. The silver handcuffs clicked tightly around her wrists. She was forcefully dragged out of the office, her expensive designer heels clicking frantically, pathetically, against the hardwood floor until the elevator doors closed. I stood completely alone in the quiet, empty room, looking out the massive window at the sprawling city below. The autumn air outside looked cold, but inside my chest, for the first time in months, it felt incredibly light. My breathing was calm. My mind was perfectly still. They thought they were the apex predators of this story. They truly believed I was just a blind, naive, trusting wife who could be easily discarded and broken. but they forgot one simple, ancient rule of survival. Never underestimate a woman who has absolutely nothing left to lose except her dignity. Because when you try to take that away from her, she won't just defend herself. She will build a masterpiece out of your destruction. Thank you for spending your time with us. If this story touched your heart, please leave a comment and let us know what you thought. We'd also love to hear what kind of stories you'd like to listen to next. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to English Stories Hub. A new story is coming soon, and we can't wait to share it with you. Thank you for your support, your comments, and for being part of our community. Until next time, take care and keep the stories alive.